Welcome to our webinar about mobile measurement partners. I have Stephan Goetze with me, and Stephan, we met years ago, I think shortly after ringtones when the first apps came out. You were working for a company called Multidevice, which was or still is a massive platform in Germany and some other European countries. And they basically invested as one of the first companies back into app marketing, a lot into app marketing. And I was lucky enough to be part of that story back then. And you evolved in this industry very much, and now you're, what's your official title?
Yeah, team lead. Welcome everyone. Team lead for MarTech and partnerships. So dealing with also MarTech is fantastic. So still relevance and yeah.
And still for a very big German company, the Scout Group, right? Which has a lot of different verticals underneath. And you are basically in the process of a buying decision, more or less. That's my understanding.
Yes, constantly checking. Yes. So evaluating is one of the goals, right? To check what's going on there, and also when you have different solutions, probably it's best to have only one because of the load for the app and so on. Different reasons. Yeah.
And during this evaluation process, which looks at a lot of different features of the mobile measurement partners or app tracking solutions that are out there, you, from a corporate perspective, probably look into very different feature sets than maybe a startup would look into. And this is why we somehow caught this topic and got a little bit of interest from the Facebook mobile marketing experts group that we are in. And we thought, okay, let's have this webinar, you share your findings, and maybe there's different opinions to the audience. If you want to add a comment, have your own experience, or see things completely differently, just raise your hand. We are very happy to get you in and then discuss your topic or your opinion here. So this is a completely neutral presentation, let's say. It's really just listing a couple of features. We are discussing them. Which value do they have for a corporation? Which value might they have for a smaller company? And this is not a selling pitch for any of those. Neither it's saying don't do this and don't take this one. You personally might have a completely different buying decision process than maybe Stephan has. So yeah, I would say kick it off. The stage is yours, and otherwise audience is very welcome. Raise your hands if you want to say something.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure. I just share. I just brought with me a short presentation, so it's much easier to follow. Hopefully, you can see it already. Does it work? Seems all right. Cool. Yeah. So excellent. So yeah, it's about just evaluation about like 3 different measurement partners: Branch, AppsFly, and Adjust. Currently, we have a long history with Adjust, right, for 7-8 years. Branch for 2 years probably, and AppsFly, interesting spot for me. I just worked with them years ago, right, and the idea was to just look at this, and as Andre already said, it's about how to look on these right from a corporate point of view. I have some dimensions. I just think makes mostly sense for us, and this is legal conditions, server locations, privacy and security, because these sometimes are people are not too into. And then in the middle you see like incidents. I guess this is very important for reliability of services, the expertise in the specific field, also where this company is coming from, right? And also I just touched it briefly about iOS 14. You know, it's a hot topic, the readiness for it. And also time to market. Are these companies ready to rumble, right, when it is like time for it, and when the market is in heavy changes, as we probably are into at the moment? And then on the right-hand side, the feature set, as Andre already said, it depends on what you need, right? What's your point of view here? But especially deep linking and smart banners was something that is interesting, so that's highlighted here. And for sure, the last thing, the costs, right? Yes. So I just go through it a little bit and just commented on it. Andre will jump in, and everyone who wants to participate, just ask, right? There's a chat function, and let's have this conversation, right? So first of all, legal condition matters a lot, right? So if there's a problem with companies, you should you have to make sure that the place of jurisdiction is near, right? So Germany, for instance, for us, or UK, EU, European Union makes sense. And sometimes big players, also US players, don't offer it in the first place. So make sure to ask for it, right? Make sure to involve your legals. It's just an advice from our side, because it could mean a lot of problems later on. That's just this one, right? It's an easy one, but just to mention it. The next one is much more interesting in terms of GDPR implications. And as you know, that's not a new topic, but there was like the EU-US privacy trial, but also the problem that this was not like active anymore. And there are specific risk when you just, this is based on standard contextual clauses. That means that it's an addendum, right? It's kind of a, you should ask your legals advice here, but that means there are implicit risks here. If you're having data servers, or your data is laying out of the European Union, especially in the US, and this is not something that is regulated best at the moment, right? There's a lot of legal talks in the scene, right? And it's not finalized yet what will happen here, but this I just want to call out. Make sure to check that the server locations is in EU, or best in Germany or your country, where every preconditions are met. I don't know if there are some questions here, but I guess this is pretty clear. When we compare these different solutions here, Adjust and AppsFly have EU servers, and Branch is the one that is currently in the US space, right? So for us, that could mean a risk. And of course, the companies, sometimes you take this risk, right? So it's not for me to judge here. It's depending on your company, how you flag this and how you deal with it. When it is about privacy security, it's also very interesting, and it's like a little bit bold comment here: trustworthy, secure vendor that meets high standards. And only from my assessment here and all the information I have got today, AppsFly is the one that seems to have everything you would need from a corporate sort of point of view. And the different layers is, and lots of, sometimes people don't really care about it, right? So security, two-factor authentication is important, right? To secure your accounts. Single sign-on, also another method to use. Why? Because you can imagine in all of these tools, you have app credentials, secrets. You have stuff there stored. If you hack it, you have probably good chances to make some bad things with it. So it's not cool, and often companies, also big corporates, have a lot of different users accounts there. It's not only 2 or 5 people. It's massive, right? And so it's good to take it here, or to check it. And interesting is that AppsFly is the only one that offers this for free, right, with no additional costs. That's a finding here. Currently, it seems so Branch cannot offer two-factor authentication. What's not so cool, and when it is about single sign-on, it's depending on the services your company is using, right? So probably it's okay to use Google, like Adjust is offering. Branch has 3 partners on board. It depends, right? And besides two-factor and single sign-on, it's also the SDK type, right? So by nature, AppsFly has a secured SDK that's much better than an open one, because an open SDK means you can hack it easily, right? You can do a lot of stuff here. And from my understanding, and also working with these players here, it just has a way to signature the SDK, right? To protect against SDK spoofing. But this is a manual process, right? So it means also you have to do it, right? You have to care for it. If you do it once, it's probably not enough. And Branch is not offering this at the moment. So that's interesting. And afterwards, the 3 different, the below pillars are, when it comes to audits, right? External audits, trustee, e-privacy, or specific standards. certifications, I guess this really matters, right? And what I can see here also in my assessment is that AppsFlyer is doing it, right? So they have the e-privacy, that's very important for Germany. Just has it for years, I guess, since, I don't know, I cannot remember. There's a link, you can see it, right? And it's a yearly checkup, and also you can have different products you check against and so on. It costs money, of course, but it's really something assessment they're doing, right? So I would take it for granted, right? And for me, this is important that when I'm working with vendors, they are certificated or they are external audits. And yeah, that's my findings here. So to sum it up, I guess AppsFlyer is really nailing it also with the free services for this security features. I really like this. And yeah.
Quick question, Stephan. You were mentioning here the SDK spoofing. Maybe that's not something everyone knows about. How is that relevant for a buying decision? How would you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, there are different fraud patterns, so it also changing, right? And there was time, I guess, was last year heavily, that when you have fraud patterns that are involving, that you have to protect somehow, right? So the thing is that when it comes to tracking, attribution, you could hack into the systematic or in this process, right? And this is possible when you have access to the SDK and can like tweak it or hack it a little bit to simulate specific flows, right, or actions. And there is good documentation for this SDK spoofing, so we can also share it later on where it is better explained. But this is something that was evolving in the last years, and it's still something that is a problem. And yeah, for sure, there was an open source like a movement, right? Everyone said, yeah, open source is cool, you know what you're doing and so on. Everyone can work on it and you can check it. But on the other hand, it's also open for fraudsters and hackers. So it's both sides, right? So the advantage for AppsFlyer is that they have a secured one. You could also argue, yeah, it's not open source, but yeah, I mean, it depends, right? I guess from the security standpoint, it's a malus to have it, right? And they just came up with a signature feature that makes totally sense. They got it, it's important, and so they fixed it, right? And for Branch, I cannot see this. Yeah.
Cool, thanks for clarification. To the audience, if you have more questions or anything, just raise your hand or put it in the chat. We are happy to take you on stage or just respond to your questions in the chat window. Yeah, please, Stephan, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. Next one is incidents. I mean, this one is very interesting. It's hard to get the numbers. I got some from most of the players here. There's like statuses, right? So I have the link here, and I can also post it later on. Normally you have like status dot like AppsFlyer or Branch or Just, and then you can check about what's happening, right? Downtime, uptime, what's going on. And there you have also incidents like are reported. Not everyone is reporting the same granularity. You have to know this, right? And what's interesting is when checking back and going back a little bit, there were like some heavy times for Branch, right? So what I know is that they had really hard times in 2019, and a lot of different services were affected. And also last year there was a huge like sum of different things happening, and that meant for a very long time services were affected, and that of course has business impact, right? And in 2019 there was a period of like Christmas for like the seasonal like high business, like for e-commerce and other people, that was very important. And I know that some companies really had problems with it, and they moved away from them because it was affecting the business negatively. And just to compare it with AppsFlyer, Just when you say when you look at the numbers from 2019 and 2020, it's 2 years. There was just almost 8 minutes downtime for certain services. I mean, this is almost nothing, right? And same for AppsFlyer. I mean, last year it was 1 hour something, like 15. So this is really cool to see the differences, and you should be very aware of this fact that there is like the ability to have this status checks. You should like check it regularly when you're working with vendors here. And also this year already we had some incidences with Branch and Just. I just here on the 21s and in January already. So this is really interesting for me, and everyone should be aware and ask also when dealing with other vendors or with these vendors, right?
What I can say is I work with both, like Adjust and AppsFlyer. I did work a little bit with Branch for the different clients that we run here. And downtime wise, I have to say it's not recognizable. Obviously, sometimes some dashboard isn't loading or some data is not accessible or something, but this happens. It's massive things that they are dealing with, right? So totally acceptable downtimes. But what you say here about Branch with 100 hours, I mean, that's obviously a massive flaw in the system, obviously, right?
Yeah, I guess that probably has to do with the technical background that they have like also bought back in the days, like end of 2018, perhaps Tune and so on, right, and integrating it, or I don't know. I mean, we have some other numbers that probably can mirror or give like more insights why this happens, right? Also, when do you have enough engineering power, right, and stuff like this? Are you able to fix this quickly? Do you have the right stack and so on? I guess there's a lot of things that are not obvious here, and I don't have the deep insights, but I guess it makes sense to know what's going on here. And also Adjust has a major outrage last year that also affected data. So yeah, it happens for sure. I'm totally with you, Andre. It's just one pillar, right, to look at. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will just go on, right? Guess it makes sense. If there are no questions here. Expertise, I like this one a lot. And I guess, yeah, when it is about overall, right, experience, future-proof vendor for mobile attribution and marketing, I would say, just to take it away right in the beginning, it's AppsFlyer really nailed, and then Adjust, and then Branch partial. And why? I just highlighted employees and locations, right? I mean, look at this massive employees and also when you do it, engineering power, AppsFlyer has around 500 engineers, right? That's massive. Just 250 engineers around, approximately, and Branch less, of course, because they only have under 400 employees in total. So this is probably something that is important when it is about, are these companies able to be fast to market, right, and to involve to work on new innovations and updates. And I guess this is where when I compare these, I see different things, right? On the one hand, the roots from Branch, right, coming from the web space, the deep linking space, and then acquiring Tune, trying to get it together, then their identity graph, the cookie-based user graph they have here in place, and they always market as the superior thing at all in the market, but now facing cookieless future, iOS 14 and other things, that it's not clear how they cope with this transition, right? Are they really ready for this, right? And also when it's about the different features, I have it later on. I can clearly see that Adjust, really has some nice features and innovations. AppsFlyer do it, and I'm missing this with Branch, right? For me, it looks like they are offering the standard. It's okay. It may probably be okay. They are they have some very strengths. Also, I have it in other slides then coming, and it depends on your use case what you need, right? Probably you don't need every single feature. And also when it comes in expertise in years, I guess AppsFlyer and Adjust are very like having the longest reputation in the market, right, and be there for the mobile attribution part, and also deep linking, all are in this field, right? So, but there are some missing aspects for Adjust. I have it on another slide then. Yeah, I guess I just go over it right in the next one. To go more into deep, just touched it briefly, right? iOS 14 readiness. I guess this is the hot topic at all. There are differences how these different players cope with it. You can look at it, how they work on it, if they provide already facilities to use this, right, to get in touch with the changes. It's not just to write blog posts. It's more like to really offer something in their in their products, right? And I guess there you can see already that Adjust and AppsFlyer have really fully integrated stuff there. You have like a variety of good prepared things to start right away. And this really looks promising, right? And also from a marketeer's perspective or a market perspective, wow, cool. They are prepared. They really show their care. and they can also react very fast on changes. So this is not set in stone, right? We know iOS 14, Apple, we will see how this plays out in the next months. There were already some adjustments end of January, where like youth-through, for instance, and other stuff is now possible, but still we know that there are limitations in terms of what you can use here. And I see some risk with Branch here, because the root, where they're coming from, right, with this identity graph and cookies and stuff like this. Also their market share, so probably then probably not that's prepared for this what is coming, and also their engineering power. So yeah, that's just one view, right? How we can look at this. I don't know if there are any questions, but this is, I mean, not finalized, right? This topic is evolving. It's not that we can say this is done today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say anything around iOS 14 and how it's going to play out, that's a separate session and could probably be scheduled for 3 hours instead of just 1. So I suggest to skip it at this stage.
Yes. I just want to make sure, and that's the point here. Do you have the right vendor in place that is prepared, that is has the ability, engineering power, tools, and so on in preparation to really help you as a client then? And yeah, okay, but that's clear, I guess. Then deep linking, yes, as for sure, right? Deep linking, I highlighted in the beginning, and also smart banners. For sure, deep linking, this is, I mean, the thing Branch has a long history, right? And they are like superior, they do it, right? They have it. And also AppsFlyer is really having everything you need. And there are some slightly differences probably that when it comes to ESP integrations, when you want to work with like email, ECRM stuff, right? And so on, and pushes, but it depends what you're working with, right? For us, for instance, it's Salesforce is very important. So it makes sense to know that AppsFlyer, for instance, has a partnership with Salesforce, or Salesforce is invested in them, right? So there is a natural interest in doing the best you can have, right, in the market, and probably no other can deliver this. And what's obvious, and that's really the burden here, also working with Adjust for so long time, is that Adjust really has some problems, right? And they really have no advanced deep linking features at the moment. And I know they are working on it. It's currently that they want to scope it and do a lot of trying to fix this, right, as soon as possible, but they're still missing and cannot compete currently with Branch and AppsFlyer here, right? So, and that's a takeaway. If we're really relying on deep linking, when you have like this cases where this matters, you should have in mind who can really offer this. But also have in mind, iOS 14 also has some challenges for this. We're not covering this here because it's much more complex, but it's also important to ask then, hey, Branch, hey, AppsFlyer, are you prepared for deep linking also in this iOS 14 world? Cool, but this is obvious, right? Adjust is working on, they just had other topics they worked on, right? That's why they're probably behind here. Smart banner, another cool thing that some companies are using, right? You know this, or Journey, the naming in Branch, where you're trying to make a transition from the web users, right, mobile web to app. Totally cool. Smart banner it's not new, right? It's an old one. I can remember brought this to Mobile back in the days, also to the Scout Crew, very important. But with static banners, now there's some. I mean, Branch has a very sophisticated tool where you also can use user behavior and actions to play this smart banners or like interstitials and stuff on. So to channel your users and to push them to the app. And also in combination with deep linking, of course, this makes totally sense. And as you know, the numbers and the app usage is mostly the best one, right? You have a better interaction with them. You can use pushes. You can better engage with no cost. So the topic, it all makes sense from our point of view. But what's here, when you compare it, it's also the burden that Adjust don't have it, right? They're not invested in it. It's now in the product exploration somehow. They know clients are wants to have it, but also when they will make it happen, it will probably only provide simple or like basic things when they are starting with it. So coming back and looking at AppsFlyer and Branch, AppsFlyer also has a really cool a smart banner feature here. Also, when it comes to the editor and so on, you can do it really easily. And also some audience targetings. It depends on your use cases, right? So I would say AppsFlyer and Branch really nail it here, and probably Branch has a little advantage, but I mean, this is only for time, right? If you know, having the engineering capacities and also feedback from clients, I guess it's easy to know that AppsFlyer will probably also make much out of it in the future here, right? And be better. But just, yeah, that's my assessment here. Yeah, I don't know if there are any questions, but it's also probably a very clear case.
I don't see any questions coming in, but interesting view here. I wasn't even aware of that features.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, normally you make a static one, or yeah, there are different solutions in the market. You have your own script. You don't need it, right? You could also do it yourself, just to explain it. If you know what you're doing, you can do it with a script, right? You can use it on your website, no problem. But if you want a really nice feature where you can A/B testing, where you can make it more seamless and you don't need resources, it's much easier to have it included. It's just depending on your resources and how we do. And yeah, I just take the next one, right? The feature list. I mean, it's the features I really find interesting. It's the one, okay, when you compare the three players in the market, what they can offer. I have some also comments here. I just go through it, right? Trying to giving some context how I see it. I mean, paid ads everyone can do, right? So there's a non-brainer, and that's what they can do. There are probably some favorites when it comes to which channels, right, and which partners. So make sure, and this is not included because it's too complex. They are having integrations. Normally they have for the majority of partners, right, out there, or different vendors. Attribution-wise, I guess it's interesting to see that there are differences, right? So I can see that for instance, it just has a feature, right? Multi-touch one, but it's limited a little bit how many touch points you've got there. You have the branch thing, right? And they're also saying, hey, that's so cool because we have the identity graph, but knowing this is something that is a little bit problematic because you really, yeah, you're using data, right, from other vendors and so on. It's a little bit problematic, right? And it's really for everyone and people that are using branch to check out also with legal if this makes sense, right, for you to have this approach, and if this is like also stable and it's working in the future. I have my doubts here, right? And I guess AppsFlyer really has it. And what I really like with AppsFlyer is also the combination with to have this ability for people-based attribution, but also to make this data available easily, and also have visualization and dashboards, right? So when you compare to the others, it sometimes seems, oh yeah, you can do it, but visualization is a pain, or also if you can access the data, probably. But best is right to try it out and to look at it, what you need. Dashboards as a third topic here. That's only my lookout at this. I guess AppsFlyer has very interesting on top features and possibilities. It's extra features, right? Premium features, but it's really interesting to see that they have a pivot dash, right? You can have like really extensive and cool cost and ROI reporting. And this probably matters for some of their clients a lot. Just also trying to get better, right? So the data canvas or data studio somehow, right? Where you can just drag and drop your stuff you want to build is very cool. So we tested it, I guess, also for a longer time, and that makes sense, right? And for branch, yeah, I see it, we are trying to get more into it, right? But it's more like, I would say, more like a standard one, right? It's not really advanced. It's not that cool like the other features. But it depends. Some people out there probably just don't need dashboards because they have their own, right? It's a use case that matters. If you like dashboards, it's also personal, perhaps how you like to have filters, how fast this stuff is working, and so on. So this was a personal view on it, right? But the next one, this is probably really a key thing, right? The audience builder, and we have it. Just and AppsFlyer have it, right? And why does it matter? Because when it is about retargeting, incrementality tests, and when you really want to chase it, you wouldn't need kind of this tool, right, to make like different A/B tests, or to split an audience, for instance, to create audiences. And this could make sense for some of the folks right out there, but make sure, and that's a fact that Branch don't offer something like this currently. I guess there's a better somehow. I don't have access to it, but trying to get more info about it. Really eager to learn more. We have some session also next week with Branch to also probably clear some of the gaps I see here, and then we could make also an update later on. Deep linking, we already had it. Smart banners for sure. So I would say AppsFlyer Branch can really offer everything you need here, but it just has really to get on it. No smart banner journey features yet. Deep linking okay-ish, but you have to involve here. And then data access is important for sure. It just is nailing it. You have like unlimited raw data, right, reports and so on. There is no problem. It's without additional costs. So that's really cool. It depends if you consume it, if you're working with your own dashboards and so on, building stuff like this. And what I also like with AppsFlyer is the S3 data lockers, that if you're working with AWS, right, then that you have an easy way to access this data. Not like using server to server or other things, right, or APIs to crawl this. Depends on what you do, but make sure for Branch and AppsFlyer, data access is in extra packages, and most of extra costs that are involved here. Because data matters, and this is also another pillar in information here, the CDP connectors, right? CDP, Customer Data Platform, something that is evolving, something that some companies already and corporates are using, but also a lot of startups. It's nothing that also corporates are doing. This could be make sense to have an integration, right, with your favorite CDP you're using. So it's much easier to collect data or to connect data to make the user segments you're using like transferable. Huh? And the last ones, some of them we touched, but uninstall tracking, I really like this in terms of really knowing about the churn rates and really do something out of it. Most of the companies are using it for Android. With iOS, they don't want to use it because there's like a kind of some time ago Apple said, okay, it's not allowed to do, but most of the lots of companies are doing it without any problems and are not banned. But I guess it's good to know that Adjust and AppsFlyer are like providing this feature, Branch not. So if you need uninstall tracking and you're relying on this because you really want to know if you grow, what's the churn, what's really happening there with your data and your installs, then make sure to choose the right vendor here, right? Besides this, fraud prevention, that's a nice topic. I mean, it's a complex topic. There are different like evolving topics. We talked about it some slides ago, right? The fraud pattern are changing, right? So it's nothing that is set in stone. And probably you could say all of these vendors have normal standard fraud protection somehow. But then what is the difference, right? And I guess when it comes to the SDK spoofing, you know, I already said something about Adjust has a CDK signature feature. AppsFlyer has a secured SDK. That's why they have more stars here, right? And have better fraud prevention by nature. And then it's about, okay, what it's interesting that AppsFlyer and Branch have some kind of rule builders, so you can make your own fraud rules. I mean, the question is if this is the right approach, but they offer it, right? And what AppsFlyer is also having a post-attribution fraud prevention. That means that also later on, when it is clear that there was fraud in play, it's not only real time, they all offer, right? So in real time, they can filter some stuff. They have different patterns. They should all cover the normal stuff, right? And some claim that they can also detect new stuff, right? But it's hard to get more and more details on this for this. But then post attribution is interesting because if you later on have something that this is corrected, right? That this is something when it's obvious that it was spotted not in the first place, that is corrected, the data is corrected, and everything is done, and you don't have to care for it. So that was interesting to see this differentiation here with AppsFlyer. Yes, and yeah, fraud prevention is also here an extra feature for most of them. So make sure to ask for it if you don't know, and The other ones like two-factor SSO, we talked about it. I don't cover it here. Just to name and yeah, to say branch has no two-factor authentication, and that's probably a problem. Should be a problem not to be secure here. And additional feature innovation, I just touched it already, I guess, for corporates, but also for startups, and to save in the future, you need a partner that can offer additional cool features with just, for instance, the Just Automate, right? You can manage builds, budgets, unbodified. And we know it's a company, the board, right? But it's like an addition for the feature set, right? Or the data canvas, for instance, right? Where you can really have your data and play with it and so on, and makes a lot of fun. Or on the other hand, also the extended massive dashboarding capabilities and reporting stuff that AppsFlyer is providing. And also what I said in terms of updating existing features, right? Time to market, reacting on iOS 14. This, you should look at this if you really not want to change your partner every 2 years. Yeah, but these are my 2 cents, right? So this is probably the feature list here I can provide. I don't know if there are some questions, try to make some context to it. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Stephan. That was it?
I guess it was it, right? But the cost, right? The last, it depends on your contracts. If procurement did a good job, right? Just let me have the sentences before I go here, and also where you're coming from, right? So if you are having a business with a partner like Just for years, you probably have good conditions, right? So that's in our case the situation, right? But then if you look at the different packages and features, it depends in the end what is the feature set you need, how does it play together, and then from my perspective, I can see from our perspective that branch is very expensive for what they offer, and then I see it Just, of course, is cool, but if you're missing cool deep linking and smartness, it won't help you that they are cheap, right? And when it's about pricing basis, yeah, it depends, right? Just in AppsFlyer, you can have attribution or other pricing models, right? Branches here on MAU basis, monthly active users. It depends how you got it right. Make sure you have the right one. That is not an issue later on when you're scaling or something else, right? It could be more expensive then. Yes, this is, I guess, my assumptions here, or my very small and comparison, and yeah, like of course to hear other comments on it. We will make this available, right? If there are no questions here, probably also we can have it in the space, right, in Facebook or somewhere else.
Well, if to the audience, if you want to come on stage, happy to have an open discussion here. See it like a meeting in the end. But otherwise, just put a question in the chat. I do have a couple of questions or comments. Have you considered the web tracking capabilities, like the web SDK from Adjust or web SDK from AppsFlyer? Have you looked into this?
All are like having this, right? That's a good question. So you can use it for sure and build it. So every one of them have the ability. It depends if you really integrate it and it's working. So
but it's not a big important part for your buying process, let's say.
I mean, it's something that you should do. I mean, it probably depends on if you are like a pure app player, for instance, right? And you need you need probably some. You just have apps, but you have some websites or something else, right? You probably need something, and then you want to make some specific campaigns. We're coming from like having a normal online presence and apps and so on. So we have other situations because we were dealing with different analytic concepts, right? When you have like, for instance, Google or Mixpanel or other stuff, right? And this is like for the whole corporate world important to track online business. And then you have the apps. It's much more the problem how to match this together, right? And therefore you need other solutions. But if you are like a pure app player and you just want to have a, like, I don't know, landing pages or something like this, this could be something that's to look into. Yeah.
Well, I'm asking because it seems to become a more and more important topic, at least for the clients that I'm working with, and they, for example, experiment with web flows where they try to sell subscriptions of apps, right? And not only to avoid the App Store fees, but also to leverage the recurring subscriptions without notifying the customer, hey, you should really cancel your subscription, which happens if you pay through Apple Pay or whatever.
That's a good point.
They are considering the web tracking a lot, actually.
Yeah, I guess makes totally sense. They're good examples. Like also when you want to drive apps, you do it with a mobile web page much better, right? So knowing also from my experience in the past, on doing this operatively or with a good team, is that if you have a mobile website and you can get traffic on this, right, and you have good traffic for this, you can gain much more cheaper, right? Buying it much more cheaper, and then later on, instead of like going out to USC or Apple searches and so on. And if you are like in a competitive environment, so it makes sense to have landing pages to promote your apps. Also for the subscription model, it's an interesting fact. Yeah, it makes sense to do it, definitely.
One other thing, if you could go back to the part where you had the data access features and stuff listed.
You mean the feature sets? This one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, access. So I can only speak to my experience with AppsFlyer and Adjust here. The data access for both works pretty fine. Let's say you can get access to raw data. I'm one of those users who doesn't really work with dashboards that are provided by the two. I'm more of one of those users who's pulling data through APIs, and I build my own stuff. The experience that I had was that, for example, the data retention in AppsFlyer means like how long they actually store the data for me as a customer is limited to, I think, 90 days it was or something like that. So
yes, that's true.
After 90 days, you only get access to some aggregated data, but you cannot pull line by line data. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, same with brands. So that's the differentiator to Adjust, where you have it right for like unlimited. I didn't noted it here because it's like specific, right? But this is a good point to add here.
For me, this was always like a killer argument. Like, okay, then I rather prefer Adjust as a partner. But then I also know that I think AppsFlyer is providing a longer data retention if you buy additional features like
projects, right? If you have like this S3 data logger, for instance, right, or you have like the access to the data, you could gather this and make this available, right? Of course, you have then to set up how you get the data, right? But you can make like a normal, I don't know, from perhaps on a monthly basis or something, right? And you would mirror it, and you have this data. It's for sure. Also, they use it here. I mean, it's good to really check the details here, what you need, what is the capabilities, and the features you want to have. That's why Adjust is really cool. And it's not extra cost. So with the others, you have to care about it. You have to find a good agreement or good deal. And it's depending on your whole package, how costly it is at the end. Yeah, but it's a good point to mention here. How data
exactly, Juliana, what you're just saying in the chat, it's not a problem if you store it in your own data warehouse. That's absolutely correct. It's really just if you don't have if you are one of those who doesn't have this technical setup just to store data, and many don't have, and then they are suddenly wondering. And I had many clients like, hey, there's only 90 days. Why?
Yeah, for smart. Yeah, for startups, right? Trying to work with it and starting, and then they get it later on. They are like probably successful, and then they need data. They want to work with the data. It could be a nightmare to really say, oh, damn it, I cannot have that. It's just aggregated data, and then that could be a case where it doesn't.
Fabio, I will come back to your question in just 1 second. I just need to finish this point because it's still a little bit related to pricing, how you get data. For another experience I had with AppsFlyer was that in-app events for organic users are also a premium feature. Like you only get aggregated information, but get it like line by line, and you cannot build your own reports to understand organic behavior versus paid user acquisition behavior. In Adjust, this is included, for example. Do you see this as a big problem, or do you just say as a corporate, hey, we just pay for it and that's fine?
Yeah, good question. It depends. Yeah. Boy, I'm a little bit confused with my setup. I don't know. 1 second.
Don't worry, all good.
I just got out of it. You mean like the availability? Sorry, can you just repeat just that I'm having it?
Sure. Absolutely. So when you're looking at organic in-app events, so users that are not attributed to paid traffic, then you don't get the raw data line by line for those users, except you pay for it in AppsFlyer.
Yes.
And
yeah,
it's included, and that's also a point that I often consider in the buying process.
Yeah, I guess this is the use case, right? And what you want to do and how mighty you are, and if you're doing your own attributions and your BI stuff and so on. So make sure, yeah, what you need and really be curious about it. Yeah. And I guess also corporates, right, are evolving. They're using it step by step, and then it's get probably much more complicated, and you want to make much more with your data, and then it's good to know that there are huge differences. Yeah.
Fabio is asking, is there a feature from any of those tracking providers which tracks multi-device in the same customer journey from web to app touch points, for instance, or vice versa?
Multi-device per user, I guess, or what this means.
Fabio, I can take you on stage and maybe you can ask the question. I unmute you if you want.
I'm not sure what it means.
We have a quick discussion around it.
I guess identify, right? I guess when it is about like multi-device, right, or cross-platform and so on, you really need probably much more than just mobile measurement to make this available, right? For a CDP, for instance, can do this. There's an identity resolution, and you really like using different identifiers, cookies, advertising IDs, and so on to make sure that you really can find the user, right? Cross-device, cross-platform, cross-device. So I would say it's a problem here to cover this with such tools here.
So now it should work, Fabio. Yes, I made you a co-host.
Cool. Yeah, for instance, Google Attribution, I know that they can track this by, so if a user has of course, an Android user usually is logged in to a Google account, and then if he uses same account with Chrome, then they can track, but the rest is out of scope. Is there?
Yeah, you're right. No, Google can do it because it's their identifier, right, and they can do this and match it. But here it are like this would be then two different installations.
Okay, there's no technology for that.
Yeah, you can have it like with the CDP, for instance, where you have other like registrations and logins, right? When you have a user that logs in and from a different device, for instance, then you can make it available or stitch this information together. But this is nothing I know that mobile measurement solutions can offer. You need another solution for this.
Okay, thank you. I'm more here in this call for refresh my memory about mobile app tracking, which I didn't work for a while. So that's why my question can be that in these years that I didn't work with mobile, that someone developed something like that.
Don't worry, there's no stupid questions. There's only stupid answers.
Right, thank you.
What you can do is, of course, if you have like a registration and you would like you would measure this, right, and make this available, and you have an identifier somehow, you could use it. You could make it also with the mobile measurement partners, but it's only probably possible when you have a hard login or a registration where you match this, right? And it's then you would be you would be able to stitch this. That's probably my last thought about it. So it's possible. It depends on your setup, what you're tracking.
Okay.
Talking about data again. Do you, for example, I once came across one of my clients wanted to port from one tracking solution to the other, and then the topic data portability came up. Do you have experience with that? Is that something you consider in the decision for one of the suppliers?
Fantastic question. I guess this is probably the nightmare you have got. Also, when it's about compatibility or when you want to compare the data. So for sure, you cannot really make it comparable that easy, right? So different methodologies and so on and so on, and accuracies. It's something we want to check, right? And also something we have to consider when changing the ecosystem, when we would like, for instance, change the player. But it's also up to your setting. If you are able to use the raw data, right, and your identifiers and everything, and you have a good solution internally, you will have data and possibilities to match it or like to make a better solution out of it. I guess it's nothing this players can offer you easily, right? It's you need more power to it, some experts to make this happen. Yeah.
Probably goes back to the point of Juliane having your own data warehouse, and then you're just feeding it from a different source in the end, right?
Yeah. So I guess
was data structure ever a topic, like how you get the raw data?
I guess, yeah, it depends on your matrix stack. If you have, for instance, RVS S3, it's of course cool, right? As you know, when dealing with APIs, for instance, and you have massive data, for instance, it could be a problem. There could be limitations or like technical issues, or you cannot you probably don't want to submit all informations. Also, when you make sure that it's encrypted or something like this. So I guess a raw data implementation or like a S3 like way of a S3 bucket, and you can just connect it. It's a very easy thing, right? And it could be very beneficial. So I like this solution here.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned in one of those future-proof feature points, incrementality measurement, for example. I just saw another startup popping up in Berlin from Mao Sadra, which I also know from back long time ago, CPC times. Is incrementality measurement a topic already, or is it becoming a topic? And how much do you believe in that? How does it play into this discussion here?
Yeah, I guess it's important, right? In the end, you really want to make sure if everything you're spending for, also for paid, that doesn't make sense, right? If you really make a difference, or it does just look like fine in numbers, but if you take it away somewhere and you just say, hey, with paid, we are so enormous, we're doing it, we're nailing it, we are so successful, and then you're not looking at the whole picture, and you're losing probably from organic or other like owned or other channels, then that's a problem. And yes, I guess it's important if you don't want to waste your money, and if you want to make sure that it's sustainable and that you're doing the right thing. It should be something you should be after.
Have you ever heard? I mean, I think bringing up all the buzzwords that I have in mind. You remember that there was this one tracking provider. I think it was Kochava who came up with a blockchain integration, whatever thing. Obviously, there was a never realizing in any direction, but the bringing up now the new buzzword machine learning, artificial intelligence, is that happening in mobile measurement, and is it something where the tracking partners should look into from your perspective?
That's good. That's interesting. I guess yes, because on the fraud side, it's heavy, right? They have money. They are very creative. And if you don't compete and you have the same weapons, I would say, right, or the same tools, you will have a problem. So I guess these vendors out here, the measurement partners, have to find ways. And also you need it to complete or to make attribution work also in the future, because I guess we are now in the era of where the possibilities of having data available like a candy shop will be limited, right? So you need new ways to work with data and to make what's called data actionable, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions. I think we have a good hour now. To the audience, is there anything else you want to ask Stephan or bring up? Have we forgotten maybe one topic to discuss here? That's all, maybe also a possibility. Otherwise, closing this, we haven't looked into more tracking partners. I think there's Singular and what are the other? Tension and a few more there. Do you have a closing comment on this? Why did you not look into those? Is it getting too much to analyze in the end? Is it just a repeating feature set in the end?
I guess it makes always sense to compare like 3 different solutions, a minimum, right? To know you can compare it. From my perspective, it makes sense to know what are the market leaders, right? Who is in the market, and if I see something like here, from all my perspective, that it just is right, missing some very interesting features, and they cannot compete this much to look what is probably the best next action, right? And also when it comes to server locations, GDPR, reliability, engineering power, then I look, of course, firstly and then AppsFly was probably the first choice here, and also I knew them from the past where it was another level, right? And that's why I didn't consider them in the first place. But I guess always when it's about MarTech and to challenge your existing vendor, make sure you have more than another one, right? To make a comparison and to find like an agreement. It could help you in any sense, right? It could help you with procurement. It could help you to find like gray spots or something you probably not thought of. So too many are out there, but I guess wouldn't make sense for us to leverage it to others at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Stephan. This was very insightful. I learned a lot. So thanks for taking the time comparing all those features and explaining them to us. To the audience, if you want to connect with us or have additional questions later on, just shoot us a message. We are certainly willing to give you feedback on this. I think that was it.
Yeah, perhaps we have some more comments afterwards. Thanks a lot for having me, and was nice questions, helping a lot to reflect. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.